Hey guys, so earlier today I uploaded this artwork to the YouTube channel, made a new banner for myself, and I got some people asking how I make these things. And I mean, it's nothing super impressive, it's just that same simplistic art style you see on a lot of YouTube stuff. But, I mean, hell, I have some thumbnails to make, I figured it'd be fun to make a video about it. So, I'm currently undecided as to which thumbnail I'm going to be making because, I'll give you guys a sneak peek of what's going on the channel here. I have two videos. Oh, wait. What am I thinking? I have this Max Payne video that's coming out next Monday, so that would be the 17th. And then I have a video on Limbo and Inside that's going to be coming out in a couple of days. So, ignore that. I think I'm going to make this, even though this video isn't coming out as soon, I think I'm going to go ahead and make the thumbnail for the Inside and Limbo one because I'm just more excited about that in general. Max Payne is a very old and, let's face it, kind of ugly game, so not as inspiring when it comes to making thumbnails. So, step one, as always, is to go to my gameplay footage, and, in here I have recordings of my entire playthrough of both games. Limbo, 27 gigs, Inside, 53. Inside, I think, is generally the prettier game, so what we're going to do is we're just going to look for a nice moment in this game, and I already had one in mind. Let's see if I can find it. This is going to be a pretty boring video, too, so, only stay if you're interested. You're not really missing anything otherwise. There's a moment where you end up underwater, suffocating, that I really want to get. Well, it's later in the game than I thought. Alright, we're getting pretty close now, I believe. I got stuck on this section for a long time. Yeah, okay, this is it. So let's see, I'm thinking something like this with, there was one good frame there where the girl was in shot and, the wire and all that. Might be a little bit too dark for a thumbnail, though. And then this, I don't know, I'm not liking how, black and white the color palette is, so maybe we can find something a bit more visually interesting if we look later. By the way, close your eyes or something, because there's spoilers coming up in this footage if you haven't played Inside. Oh, wait, there was one right here that might be good. Fits what I'm going for with the video well. Yeah, this might be awesome. Okay, let me go back a few frames so I can get that guy running up to it also. I'm liking the way that this shot looks. You've got the boy's red shirt, very visible and all that other stuff. Right there looks pretty good. I'm not liking how the shadows are on him, so I'm going to actually open this up in VLC because I have more precise control. I don't know why I haven't made that my default yet. No. Okay, so let's see. We are at 2 hours, 10 minutes. That's one thing I love about these games is they're nice and short. Because that's right near the end of the game. Oh, and if you were closing your eyes or whatever, the spoilers are over. I don't think I'm going to go into them in this video, actually. Oh, jeez. Okay, let's see here. Alright, maybe I don't have as fine control as I was hoping, but I can do this. Playback, speed, slower. And I'll get ready to make this even slower. Just as soon as the boy starts running up to the glass. And hopefully this will let me get the perfect shot. And I can always change how the lighting is on all of this stuff after the fact, but, when I'm actually in Photoshop. But for now, might as well do it the easy way. Come on, let me get rid of all this taskbar. Closing out Steam will help. Oh, it's probably, this. No? Oh. This freaking Windows shell is so annoying sometimes. Get out of here. Alright, I guess we gotta do this the hard way. Hide the taskbar, where is it? opening up Windows settings so I can take a fucking screenshot. Alright. And it still just sits there. Whatever, I can just do it the less intuitive way. So, Windows Shift S to take a screenshot really quickly. Fantastic replacement for the snipping tool. I'm liking this. It's still a little bit bland with the color palette, but I think it'll work. I could probably... I mean, for one, the frame will make the whole image pop more, I think, because as I'm sure you guys have seen, it's kind of subtle here. I do these little frames around the videos, if you can see that. Lately, that's been like a new trend of mine, just because I mean, it's like the most generic thing in the world. I feel like half the channels on YouTube do that, but it is a little bit more brandability. That actually reminds me, I need to put one on this King of the Hill video before it goes up tomorrow. So yeah, it gives it a little bit of recognition. Now, the cool thing about that Windows Shift S to take a screenshot is that if I open up new, do a 1920 by 1080, I can just Control V and the screenshot is there. And it's no secret that I basically just I just take screenshots and then I basically just trace over them when I'm making these thumbnails. But they work. They look good if you ask me. Good enough at least. And it's a pretty easy thing to do, so I don't have to, you know, slave away at this for hours every time I make a new video. Gonna stretch that a little bit. It does not matter at all if I have these black borders in the background, but whatever. So, gonna get my LaCroix and my hopefully copyright safe Tommy Guerrero, and let's do this. So, step one for me with something like this is usually the background, because for obvious reasons, that's, you know, we're talking about video games here, so these are usually pretty simple geometric shapes. You know, we've just got, I mean, this grating on the floor is the most complicated thing, and I might just decide to leave that out, I'm not sure. So we're going to start with the most stark thing in the whole image. This column here. And the thumbnails don't have quite as minimalistic a style as something like that channel artwork I published earlier today. So it's not the exact same thing, but it is pretty similar. And the reason for that is simply because, you know, when the image is this small, you want some clear defining details to tell people what it is. So, for instance, I'm probably going to brighten up the color on this kid's shirt, bring out the blues a little bit more, that sort of stuff. So let's rename this layer. And by the way, I freaking suck with Photoshop, like entirely self-taught, which means I'm doing it entirely wrong. First things first, make this a pillar. Just fill that in with black for now. I sometimes if I'm working with an image like this where a lot of the colors are very similar, I will just like give things like this awful lime green so that it's very easy to quick select objects. So, you know, that way I don't have to worry about the quick select tool mistaking two colors as being so similar that it should just group them together. And that can cause a lot of annoyance. This one will actually be a little bit tricky for me and a little bit less minimalistic because of all the lighting going on here. That's something I've always struggled with, like most amateur piece of shit artists. So... well, we'll see how it turns out. A lot of the time I'll get like 20 minutes in and then just scrap something entirely, find a different screenshot or whatever. And that might happen today, I guess we'll see. And, you know, don't be afraid to make as many layers as possible. Because it is better to do things in a simple, or in a complicated but harder to mess up way than a clean, efficient, but easy to mess up way. Because, you know, like basically everything I do, there's a lot of going back on previous decisions, and as a result of that, I want things to be as modular as possible, so if something isn't working, I can just take it out, try again. So yeah, if you're OCD, you're probably going to hate this, but there's going to be a lot of layers at play here, and I know this is looking like crap now. Again, the lighting is going to be the last thing I do, so you might be thinking, like, what's with these colors? What's with all this shading? It all looks like crap. Hopefully we'll have something better by the end. That's about the best I can say. Freaking love this album. So yeah, we're just gonna keep on using the polygonal lasso tool to get these shapes. I freaking love the polygonal lasso tool because specifically for video games it works very well. This is a game with some pretty high polygon models, but you know, there's like 50 of these, well, 10 of these guys on screen right now, so it goes to show that they don't have quite as high polycounts. But since this is video games, couple little clicks of the polygonal lasso actually looks pretty accurate to what's, you know, really being rendered in the game. So we don't need this selection right now, but, you know, just as an example. So we're going to hold down Alt to deselect whatever we draw. Probably going to add some depth of field to this to sort of blend it better with the lighting. I say depth of field, smear a blur tool all over it. And when there's something like this guy here covering up your shape, it doesn't really matter if this whole section is sloppy as hell because no one will see it. So let's do this. Now this is sort of a internal struggle I have almost every time I do something like this. A good example would be, let me find this other thumbnail I've done. Comedy is what that one was called. Hard drive E. Comedy and gaming. A good example would be comedy and gaming. The internal struggle is on this window. You can see two separate colors here, so it's not showing up in the picture because I didn't choose to do it this way. But in the image itself, the screenshot, you'll see a line going here to indicate this wall, and then you'll see a slightly darker or brighter line, or section, surface, whatever you want to call it, right here, indicating that it is a horizontal surface. You know, the inside of the wall panel, basically. And I'm having that same internal struggle here. Do I draw this line as a separate color or not? I think I'm going to. I think for this image it'll look better. It's kind of an important part of the image. And if there's any Photoshop users out there thinking about much faster ways I could do this, can it? I don't really care. This works for me. And some of this stuff on a picture with less stark lighting, I would be using the magnetic lasso or the magic wand tool more often to make these selections much quicker. Here, whatever. I might decide to whip it out in a couple places, notably stuff like the kid's shirt and all the background character shirts and all that, and their pants. That'd be a good use for it, because the lighting is closer to cell shading. It might even be cell shading. Apparently, I'm not too sure of the specifics, according to some comments. But yeah, you want to just ever so slightly exaggerate some details, like those very tiny things, because, you know, stuff like this, barely gonna show up, but, you know, you might as well throw it in, because, when you're looking at a thumbnail on mobile, like you'll click on a video, if it's buffering and the video doesn't start immediately, you'll actually see that thumbnail full screen. It'll be lower quality than the actual image, but it'll be full screen nonetheless, so you want to make sure that your stuff does hold up to tighter scrutiny. And obviously that applies to artwork outside of YouTube, which, if you're looking to this for advice about that, God help you. New layer. We'll call this seawall, I don't know. Just a full black. We're gonna erase some of these so I can get a better idea of what I'm working with here, figure out what I want to do next. Probably the floor and just sort of the general color of this place. I'm gonna make one quick little gradient so I can get a feel for the color palette. That's something what's going on here? Oh, my keyboard was holding down Alt when I was not. So a lot of the time, if I want to get a general feel for the color palette, I will sort of select a color from one corner of the frame, select a color from the other corner of the frame, and I will make a new background layer, BG gradient, and I will just slap a gradient on there to, like I said, get a feel for the general color palette of this place. So, not perfect, but it's got a similar sort of feel. I think I might actually bring this a little this way. No, backwards. similar sort of color tone, so that'll help me pick shades for like the kid's shirt if I decide to do that sooner rather than later, that sort of stuff. And it's helpful to have a layer like this because if I've got complicated geometry, which isn't really going to come up here, but if I've got complicated shapes and stuff getting really close to each other where there might be a couple holes in the picture, so to say, having this background gradient picture behind sort of hides that and makes it look fine even if there are little holes, so I don't have to go in with the brush tool and just fill in all those little gaps. So let's quit stalling and get straight back to it. I really don't want to do these gradients, but maybe this would be a perfect use for the what do you call it, this tool. Actually, okay, going back on my word again, before I forget about it, I said I was going to do this, so I might as well. Quickest, easiest to fill in little detail ever, but I have a way of procrastinating about those things. I'm even going to fill in a new layer for this. We'll call it vertical interior, I can't type, wall, window, wall. Fuck it. Need a brighter color than that. Maybe. Well, let's see. Let's pull out the background gradient and see how it looks overall. Alright, if we add a bit of a blue tint, you know, from the water to that, I think it'll look a lot better, being that shade of gray, and since it's our own layer, a separate layer, we can always change it later. But back to what I was going to be doing, let's try using the magnetic wand tool to fill in some of these holes for us, because that is going to be a tedious as all hell job otherwise, as I can imagine it was for the modelers who created this scene. So oh wait, I've got it on a way too high standard of accuracy. Yeah, I can already tell this is going to be a pain. So it's not wanting to select these. The black is too similar to the surrounding pixels that it doesn't want to distinguish between them. So you get a little bit of it here where the light from this is shining onto it. But other than that, no dice. So what we're going to do, and hopefully this will work, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, just depend on the image. We're just going to duplicate this layer real quick. Pull out the adjustments tool. Gonna give it an adjustment like that, and as you can see, now it's a much starker difference between the two shades. So we're gonna merge these, and this layer, this duplicate combined with the brightness contrast filter of this picture, is essentially just gonna act as a sort of key for us to use the magic wand tool effectively. So, wasn't able to select these before, am able to now. Really hope this music isn't copyright fucked with, I don't know the words, because I love it, and this is what I usually edit to, stuff like this, specifically Tommy Guerrero. So we're just gonna keep on selecting all of these. If you mess up, just Control Z will fix it. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about that, the frame will be covering it anyways. And I'm just waiting because this depth of field is going to make things difficult pretty soon. Might as well enjoy this while it lasts. It doesn't really matter if they're perfect squares because they, you know, are technically in the game, but with the depth of field, that's only technically. Going to keep on selecting these, and I'm going to slap a bit of blur on top of this. One, because the game does, and two, because that will cover up the imperfections. With background stuff, you can definitely get away with that. You know, typically, I think you're probably not supposed to use blur filters in this sort of minimalistic art style that I go for. But with a background object in the simple format of a YouTube thumbnail, I think it's fine. So that's already looking like a very sufficient selection. Just gonna keep on pushing our luck and see how long it takes before the blur effect overrides the magic wand tool's ability to distinguish. There we go. Starting to slip. But I really want to get as many of these as I possibly can this way. So we're just going to keep on leaning into it. That one's a little ugly. Yeah, see, they're starting to blur together. It's getting to be a mess. But again, depth of field will cover up these imperfections. And I've also got another little trick I came across once that is starting to look like it'll come in handy. So as you can see, this selection is now all over the place because of what just happened. So what we're going to do, and I'm not sure how well this will work out, we're just going to, first off, we need a floor color, so I'm going to go ahead and make this as a perfectly black object. No, added that to the wrong frame entirely. Okay, there we go. New layer. Floor holes left. Just gonna make a whole new layer for these. And again, I know they're incomplete, but they're looking pretty alright. Once we slap some blur on that, it'll look pretty damn good. I already kind of like that change in the color. I mean, I know I'm using this, and that, therefore, this is more accurate. But that brightness, I think, might be helpful to us. Since, again, we're working with a YouTube thumbnail here, we need these colors to be very stark and very eye-catching. But anyways, back to my little trick. Let me try to explain this if I can. If I go to my video I did on, let's see, 2001 A Space Odyssey, I have no folder starting with 2. Did I just call it Space Odyssey? No? Huh. That's concerning. I freaking love this thumbnail. I sort of mass deleted these project files not too long ago. At least a whole lot of them, so there's some that have stuck around for a while. Some newer ones that are just gone, but I can always just pull it up on YouTube Studio. Details. Download. So, there's sort of a similar thing going on here in this scene in 2001 A Space Odyssey. There's all these memory banks here, lining the walls of this place. Right here is a good example. And it creates that very similar sort of thing. A lot of this thumbnail, which turned out incredibly well, this is one of my favorites I've made, was just the quick select tool working its magic, the magic wand tool. Like this awesome effect with the 2 colors on Dave's suit, all just the magic wand tool. And a similar sort of thing happened here, because just like I am now, I was just one by one selecting these at one after the other. Then I selected here, it got too vague with that gradient coming in, or the, I guess let's call it the vignette, covering this side of the frame, just the darkness. And the selection got too vague and it started to select its own area. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our own floor now. We'll just cover as much of this place as is reasonable. This will all get obscured by fog later on, so don't worry about that. In the meantime, we are just going to make a floor. It'll be a big ugly color. Floor bulk. Put these beneath the hole. And I know that this color does not match at all what the final frame will look like. That's not really an issue for now. We're gonna make that invisible, make this invisible. Then we're just gonna lean into that rough selection here. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong layer. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this blur get more and more harsh until eventually this is what we're left with. To the point where you can barely distinguish these holes were ever meant to be there. So the way that I've got this sort of seeping out with these waning and waxing patterns here will actually suit what I'm doing very well. So I'm gonna have to fill in a couple of these on my own here, where it's a little ugly. So let's see. We can just select inverse, and we're going to make sure we don't go beyond here, because I think that that's where I want the fog to kick in and make this all look good again. But for all of this, oh, and I want to cover this up since I'm going to make these holes myself. For all of this, we can just Oh wait, what am I thinking? Need to cover up my actual holes too. I might do this wrong the first time around. We'll see in a moment, won't we? But there's always undo, and I'll still have the selection made, so it's all good. Just going to go back to floor holes left. Fill these in with... Yep, got it wrong. We need to instead select inverse. That's wrong too. Then we need to remove this stuff. We'll just make it a little sloppy. That's fine. Remove this. And this will go way beyond that, so it doesn't really matter if I'm precise here. And remove this, because I want the holes to stop by that point. Looks pretty rough, right? But if we zoom out, yeah, again, that's way too harsh there, so what we need to do instead is make this brush tool bigger. We're gonna have to deselect some more of this to make sure we don't get any left over where we don't want it. And again, like, I freaking suck with Photoshop, so just take all the advice I give here with a grain of salt. This is just how I do things. And maybe a little bit harder than that. And just to soften things up so we don't have that harsh border, we're going to bring this down and that. Still looks kind of rough, but got the job done, which is what's important for such a huge but minor detail like this. Doing this by hand would be so freaking tedious it would make me quit YouTube. Which, you know, maybe I should if I don't want to do the work like that, but the tools are here specifically to offload these responsibilities. No, minus. Might as well use them. And now I just have to do only a couple holes by hand, which is just great. Just to make sure I don't mess up how this looks. I know this looks rough, small. Look at it big. Basically fine once I fill in these holes. Now, since I have no artistic talent of my own, and, you know, maybe I'll bring down the color on these a little bit because they do look a little bit too dark. The fog will take care of that for me though, so that's when that will come into play. Just gonna real quick and dirty select these holes nice and square so it's very easy to draw a brush for them, or a selection brush for them. Alright, looks fine. Again, fine for such a small detail. And again, once we put on the fog, these won't even be all black. They'll sort of blend in with the background much better like they do here, where it's much smoother transition from one color to the other, meaning the two colors just aren't as different. There isn't as much contrast. And now we can get rid of this ugly, ugly floor and replace it with a color that's more suitable. So to do this, we can just copy that. And now, like, we're starting to get somewhere. Again, very, very clearly not finished, but it's starting to resemble the scene entirely on its own. Like, if I were to fill this in, there's now nothing of the original image showing, but you can still vaguely tell that it's the same thing. One thing that I think will help a lot with that would be to add in this building we see in the background here. And these lights. I think that these lights will look great. Well, not the lights, but the shadows. These nice long shadows coming off the people and the columns and the cart and all that. And then you got the little light beams coming off of this golf cart. That'll all look very nice, I think. So let's go ahead and build this place. Same as before, just gonna select the whole thing, just like we did with the seawall window, as I called it. And we're just gonna hold down Alt when we make the first click, and that will let us remove things from the selection. We'll fill in these background details, specifically, again, to sort of build on that minimalism. And because I'm lazy, and minimalism works for laziness, I'm not going to be including these boxes or this picnic bench looking thing. Just the walls and the floor, I think, will suffice. Don't want to distract people from the main detail. And let me tell you, the main detail is this kid right here. Because by looking at this kid, a lot of people will instantly recognize that this is a video about inside. Which, this shot doesn't really tell you that, unless you're very familiar with the game and just recently played it as I did. This is just going to be a picture of some fucking dark room for you. But if I can bring out that kid and make him the center of attention, it will be very clear that that's what this is about. I'm a freaking idiot. I can fix this later, but I meant to have this kid pressed up against the window along with everyone else. Totally forgot I was trying to do that. I wanted to get action shots of this guy running up while the kid was pressed up, but I was talking, so I messed up and took the wrong screenshot. Again, I can just change it around in, in Photoshop. Take another screenshot where the kid is pressed up against the glass and get that looking very nice. But, just a silly mistake I made. Back to work on these windows we're deselecting. One more. And good enough. We're just going to copy this color. By the way, with the paintbrush tool, I don't know why I'm explaining this. You can hold down Alt and select a color from anywhere in your environment, which is very nice. Okay. This is not meant to be like a Photoshop tutorial, so I don't really know why I said that. Background room. This can be very, very tedious work, as I'm sure you can imagine, but it's really rewarding to pull it off. Just watching the image sort of come together in your own style is super rewarding, even if it is just tracing over someone else's image. And then, I don't think, you know what, might as well play it safe. I'll make this a separate layer. Background room floor. No. Still don't... That color's a little bit too bright to the point where I think it's going to distract from the kid. So I'm going to just take a little bit of liberty here and darken this floor some. Slap on this gradient to see how we're doing. Little hole right here that I left. Oh, you know what? That's in the background room floor object. So let's just get rid of that. Again, tiniest thing in the world. But there is a slight difference of color here, which you don't really see in the original image as much. Oh, well, no, I still have these on. You know, it's there, but it's softer because of this light coming through. Hopefully I'll be able to bring that about with these shadows. I don't even know if I'm going to focus on that detail yet, because again, this needs to be the center of focus for this video to be reached by anyone. But I do know one thing. I want this object here, and I want that light there. Just gonna slap this. We'll just let me turn these layers back on. Just gonna slap this on the background room layer. I'm gonna actually make this the same color, even though it isn't quite that in game, because I think it'll look nice. Yeah. And I think I should at least throw up a couple of these here in the background, because otherwise this just looks weird. And There we go. By the way, I'm not using headphones right now, so all I can really say is sorry that the sound of the music is bleeding into my audio. Not changing it, though. Alright, just that simple little detail, I think, makes that room make a little bit more sense. Okay, now we need a light bulb. Turn off the background gradient. Alright, well the light bulb itself is a terrible selection, so... Or the dome, whatever you call it. Ah, I love this one. This song, I mean. Okay, so now we're going to... Yep, we still have background room selected. Just gonna cover that up completely. And then... we're going to deselect everything but this light bulb. No, well, the light itself, I mean. That's pure white. For obvious reasons, that's not really going to work for our purposes. Gonna bring it a little bit into the blue. Turn on our background gradient to see how we're doing. Looks okay, still a little dry visually. And I think a lot of that is because of the lighting in this top left corner. It just, you know, there's no oomph to this. And again, this background gradient is more for me to get a feel of things than to represent how the color balancing in the final image will look. So, good. It's not a big issue. But, let's go ahead and add in this tiny little detail. We'll just throw this on background room like we did the others. And nice. Things are looking a little bit more cohesive just because of that. Because now we don't have that big patch of emptiness, empty color right there, where the background is a little bit brighter than it should be. And I wanted to go ahead and try some stuff here also with this light. A lot of the time when I want to do shading stuff, I'll just make a new layer, call it BG Room Light. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this between the background room and the background room floor layer. And we'll just grab this color right here. Oh wait, no, we need it on this. Bring it right, that needs to be a little bit bigger. Bring it up to 270 maybe. And obviously looks like crap right now. Don't worry. We just need to get a softer eraser. Bring this down to a more natural shape for the light using the eraser tool. Don't want it bleeding over the edges like that. A little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. And now what we're going to do, take the opacity, bring it down just a little bit. Now we just need to fill in this because it's sort of broken contact with the light source itself. Alright, that's not good. And there we go. We have something that looks pretty good. And it looks so pretty good that I actually think I should take the time to add in those shadows. I think I've changed my mind on that. I do want them because they'll look nice as hell. So this will be a good opportunity to go a little bit more into how I shade things. Background floor, we'll select all this. And I want to see that right there where the light is sort of bleeding through. Looks great to me. So we're going to lean into that by first off erasing what's already there, and we're going to recreate it on our own. Oh wait, whoops, that would be on the background room lights layer. No, still not? Ah. Well, I accidentally put the light onto the background room floor layer, which I then made the whole thing transparent. But, you know, looks good, so I'm not going to question it. Anyways, we now need to add that same light effect to the floor itself. So we're going to bring this up to, let's say, 400. Hold up. I guess since this is actually just not doing anything, we might as well keep on using the background room light layer. Still looks like crap, obviously. Now it's kind of getting somewhere. And we can just sort of extrapolate what these look like. We're gonna just fade these out into where they will be the same color as the floor here. Because I'm starting to like that floor color a lot. I'm curious. I should probably look at the image for reference. I'm no good with geometry. Turn off these and turn off the floor. Yeah, see, I was way off with how those are meant to look. In fact, because of the sharp angle that these are jutting out at, I think I'm going to soften the light here to something more accurately representing what's really there. Which means, let's go ahead and erase all of this actually. Reselect the floor. And let's try to get something a little bit more accurate this time around. Alright, that's a lot more subtle, which is good, because again, we'll keep focus on the boy where it belongs. But it's important to have these little details sometimes. Let me spill my LaCroix. Some went down the wrong pipe. Ugh. 21 years old, you'd think I know how to drink by now. Turn off the light. Alright, and now we just need to select these. This really is such a pretty game. And we can add a little depth of field here to, well, blur again. Depth of field equals blur to make this look better. Because, just like real shadows, they're not that sharp in real life. So now we're going to turn on these again. Just looking good. This needs to expand a little bit further to accommodate the slightly brighter lighting I've done. A little more even. And the same applies to this. Alright, and now we just need to... No, that's not good. Just hit this. Yeah, that's starting to look alright. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And it'll look better once we clean this up a little bit. And let's throw on our blur tool. Fix up that. There we go. So now we've got almost good lighting. Gonna clean up this a little bit. I was a little hasty with my selection, I think. There we go. And there's a little bit of that same sort of residue here of me not giving a shit when I selected this. Looks pretty good, right? I mean, you know, nothing professional, but it's clear it's that the part of this picture over here is doing what I wanted it to do. So, Nice, that's all that matters. Okay, now back to the other details, which I didn't really want to touch because I knew they were going to be a lot more complicated with the lighting. It's these god rays that I am god awful with. But nothing to it but to do it. We have more holes here, which, not looking forward to these in the slightest, because they have a big-ass shadow on them. No amount of this can really help the situation. We might as well go ahead and try, see what the damage is. Yeah, not where we want it to be. But, at the same time, I'm kind of liking their idea of the people's shadows, and you can hear my laziness speaking through my voice as I say this. I'm kind of liking the idea of the shadows in this environment not having holes beneath them. I think it'll make for a good look, and also a much easier look. Which, let's be real, everything else I just said was just bullshit. I just want to use my quick select tool. I want to get in and out. Which again, is why you should not be learning from me. This stuff requires patience to do better than I do. My stuff may look alright on a YouTube thumbnail. If it goes under any tighter scrutiny than that, it immediately looks awful. Just go ahead and delete all this crap. Promise I don't have it, but I am currently adjusting to a vape after quitting smoking cigarettes. And as anyone who's tried a vape will tell you, you can smoke for years and years and years, and vapes will still make you cough. Just because it's, I don't know, something about the way you hit it is very different from a cigarette. Couldn't possibly get more specific than that if I wanted to. But on to happier topics. We just have to do a little bit more manual selection here. Tedious, but no biggie. Nice simple shapes. Make this pretty easy. Got another shadow here coming from this person. Oh, and hey, me putting these shadows here will also serve as a way for me to show this sort of lip in the environment, which I hadn't even noticed until I looked at the shadows just now. So that's cool. We're gonna ignore the boy's shadow because he's not gonna be there. Ultimately, he's gonna be in a different spot. And let's clean up the auto selection here a little bit. Alright, that's looking good. And here I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of the shadow for the seawall, as I'm calling it. And then we'll worry about the finer details of the individual people's shadows. I'm never really sure how much I'm gonna be able to accurately emulate the fog fading distant objects away, so it's better to wrap them perfectly like that so that if a little bit more detail shows than I was intending, I'm good. Still looks alright. I wonder. No, that does not improve matters at all. So, still no way around it. Still have to select everyone's individual shadows. That's alright. Because again, I'm going to get more and more aggressive with that blur tool as I move further back to simulate depth of field. And that will make all of this slapdash work I'm doing on these background shadows just fine. Just call this one shadow for now. might fast forward some of this video. Personally, I probably won't. Odds are, if anyone is still watching, it's because they're currently playing a game or something and just have my voice rattling off on their phone in the background, so, you know, through better or through worse, I guess we're just chilling together. Which all translates to, I've got too much shit to do. I don't want to waste time figuring out where it would be best to slow down this footage, or speed it up, I mean. It's, as you saw. Oh, and hey, now my taskbar is hiding perfectly. 6 a.m., so I'm a little bit brain dead at the moment. But I couldn't sleep. I remembered someone wanted me to do this. Figured I might as well get some work done. Adding in that background rating I was talking about earlier. At this point, all you can see of it is really right around here. It also just sort of helps to keep me motivated, keeps the image looking good, and therefore I want to keep working on it. It's I'm sure it's just some sort of psychological weakness, but it's one that is pretty easy to overcome. All I need to do is just make that background gradient. And I stay motivated, no problem. Okay, so as you can see here, let me, oh wait, that's actually his arm. As you can see here, I set the precedent that, and I want to hold on to this, that I would be drawing the shadow of the far side of this little lip. Well, I guess to the camera, it's the near side. So, gonna stick to that. Gonna smooth this out some more. There we go. Nice. Just gotta select the rest of this lip and its shadow. And what's nice is that I only have to do it between the shadows of the individuals. Which means I usually don't have a long enough line that I need to account for the curvature of it. And again, that looks rough as hell, but that's way in the background. Who cares? While I'm doing this, and you're hearing me slowly justify more and more and more laziness, but maybe that's what makes the minimalist art style look good. I don't know. As I'm doing this, I'm starting to think, maybe I just don't do these other holes. They're going to be a real pain in the ass. Maybe. I guess I'll see how well they select. I don't really think that they're important to the image. Even if they do look good, I might decide to leave them out. So let's see. Layer, new layer. Shadow to seawall. We're just going to grab... That's like almost the exact same shade. Oh, I'm on the entirely wrong layer. No, I'm not, just in the wrong place. Yeah, you can barely see that at all, so... Going to take one of these holes. Oh, I forgot that the quick select tool also grabbed a whole lot of the scenery right here that I don't want to put the shadow on. Probably didn't matter in the end, but I want to keep it pretty. Alright, that's good enough. Oh, got an extra detail there I didn't want. And I don't want any of this, of course. This does not need to be quite that color. We'll just... a little bit darker. I think that looks good. Yeah, it looks pretty good. when I put in the kid, I'll also have to put in a shadow since that's very distinctly missing from there. Just a moment. Sorry, I bumped the mic. So, I'm thinking I'm going to start filling in this fog right around this section because that's currently the weakest looking part of the image. So to do that, let me first get rid of the floor here because that's not meant to be there anyways. Okay, oh, and that reveals some more flaws with this shadow I've created. Yep, now we're good. This is the part I was really not looking forward to. Getting these light shafts shining through at this angle. Let me delete these pillars so I can... Yeah, so the light shafts go on top of those two pillars, but not on top of the foreground pillar. Yeah. So I need to bring seawall up ahead of those two pillars so that I can create a new layer right here. Call it sea light shaft. And this is where things are going to start getting a little bit weird. Way too big. And we'll make all this look good in just a moment. Firstly, let's see how it looks without this. Crap. But that's to be expected. What I'm going to do is give myself a much firmer eraser. Erase the detail there. Erase the detail. Oh, let's take a look at that image. Yeah, so we want it to sort of bleed out a little bit, go harshly onto the floor, which I think we can achieve. Let me soften this. And then, of course, you guys probably saw this coming. Like all lighting effects, gonna apply a gradient to this. Or not a gradient, I'm just gonna dim it. And here's what we'll do to make this look better. Deselect all of that. No, that's not what I want. Alright, let me do this the right way. As if I'm doing anything here the right way. That looks alright. Could be a lot better though. Let's do this. Make it a lot more subtle. Because we don't want it to look like a shape. We don't want it to look like basically just a rectangle, polygon. For obvious reasons, it's light. And we'll go ahead and get like a sort of background fog color, and I've got like a little plan to how I'm going to apply this to the rest of the image. We want this background color to be very dim so it doesn't take away from the boy, which I still haven't added because I want to wait until I have everything else in place so I can correctly gauge how well this image draws you to him. Oh wait, no, that's not what I wanted at all. We will make a right above floor gradient, we'll make a new, or background gradient, we'll make a new rear wall / fog base. And we can then use a simple gradient. Actually, I'm going to put this above my shadow layer, which was... Which one was it? No. Did I really just draw this onto the floor itself? No? Where did I put it then? Ah, I'm blind. So we're gonna put this here so we can start to fade out that shadow. We still have a very stark line there. Oh, I'm a fool. Actually, I was kind of liking where that was going. Because I wanted to fade out the seawall too. Which means let's select just the seawall. Not quite so hard. It's a little bit too sharp of a change in color. That fog is starting to look where I want it, and we've already gone through an entire Tommy Guerrero album. We are at, let's see. Oh, we've just hit an hour, nice. Oh, now it's playing my video. Let's do Road to Nowhere. This is a good one. Turn this down a tad. So, let's look back at this original image for a bit more inspiration. Where to go next? I'm thinking that this rear pillar needs to blend with the floor more, and I'm completely right. The light shafts need to be much starker on top of it, but rather than do it that way, what we're gonna do is select that pillar and blend it with the floor some. What we're trying to do is make the illusion of fog here, not the real thing. Which, if I get this lined up with the light shaft, almost okay. I'm thinking the smarter solution here might, I'm going to go ahead and leave what I had. I'm going to erase some of it actually, so that that light shaft can sort of shine through more, no pun intended. Make it look like it's on top of it, which it was, but it was also very, very transparent, to the point where it didn't look like that, basically. Still not loving how thick it is right here, for lack of a better word. And I think that that's more a result of the background fog. So the solution, add more background fog. What I'm thinking I'm going to do, I'm going to use this wall right here as sort of a line where the fog does not cross. Mainly because I really like how this area looks. And also because I want to make sure I have a clear border. So the fog will not cross that line. But it needs to be on top of all else. If we can just soften that up a little bit, that'll look pretty good. Yeah, bigger. Eraser than this, 300, let's say. Ah, now we're getting somewhere. Still a little bit cloudy here in a way I don't like. So let's figure out what layer that is. And just toggle each one until we find it, really. Must be further back than I thought. No, that's not it. Ah. Okay, so what we can do is take our eraser to the shadow layer. Sounds ominous. No, bring that back. Oh wait, I've still got it on. Yeah, okay. And this was my mistake for putting this here instead of here. Where it looks much better. Yeah, now it's looking a lot better in general. And we'll sort of bring this fog slowly over there, so that it looks a little bit more natural going over the seawall. By making it huge, so we get a big gradient off of it. Because that big gradient is exactly what we want. A little bit bigger than that, actually. Bring it up to 750. Go way out of the frame. And let's... Oh, no, that's not good. Alright, now I'm thinking this is starting to look pretty good. Still need the boy, of course. I'm gonna take a quick breather to just sort of think about how it's looking. And hit set vape. The main thing that stands out to me right now is that pitch black pillar really needs a shadow to help it blend with the rest of the environment better. So we'll throw that in next. While I'm sitting idle, I might as well fix that little detail with the shadows. Where was that? Ah. Much better. Okay. I'm liking how this is looking so far. To be honest, with all that lighting and stuff, I was not expecting this to look half as good. Which, it's nothing great, but it's getting somewhere. Not sure how well this translates to you all, but we almost got a sort of a rainbow effect here. Somewhere amongst all of this, we're seeing a hint of red. Which, probably something to do more with Photoshop's compression than anything, but that's interesting. Only tech guys could possibly watch this far into the video and not be bored, so if you know what that is, let me know. Alright, enough stalling, let's get back to work. Even still, looking at this final image, there's a little bit more contrast than I've got, and I think that that's mostly due to the actual light here, because, you know, wouldn't you know it, there needs to be light for there to be shadows. I've got my text, 2 texts. New Twitter follower. And a bunch of other shit. So let's add in that light. We'll go with the same sort of sea color I've decided on here. Bring that up to, let's take it down to, let's say 500, not 400. No, 400. And we will put it on the floor right beneath that shadow layer, because those shadows are solid colors here, so they won't get merged with the color I'm about to paint. Select the floor so that we don't accidentally... Oh wait, no, floor bulk. Select the floor so we don't accidentally paint onto anything we don't want. And actually, since I've already got some lighting here applied to the floor layer, what I'm going to do, and right here you're seeing the benefits of making new layers because I didn't do it and therefore I'm restricted here. The benefit of that is that we don't have to worry about messing up our lighting here by trying to draw over another light. We don't want any of that seawall getting any residual light from this, so we're just gonna deselect all of that other light that we've already drawn. Seawall, floor, main light. And of course I'm gonna do the thing where I erase, or rather lower the brightness of this. The opacity, that is. Left a little mark here. Not quite sure how that got there, but it's on one of these layers. Oh, I just deselected it. I'm very smart. Yeah, there it goes. So now we just need to bring this down. And we will use a large eraser to smooth it out more. Wait, no, yeah, here. Sort of wiggle the mouse around all this. I see on my timeline, my Audacity timeline, I really am mumbling, but what did you expect? Been sitting here for an hour. Okay, that's looking good, but I need to make this bigger still. Get a less artificial looking gradient. Even bigger. Now we're getting closer to what I wanted. Something to make those shadows pop a little bit more. Let me go back on that just a moment. That's much better. Now it's looking pretty good. We just need to add the people themselves. And that shadow to the main pillar that I mentioned during my little break. Let's take a look at this, see how they did it. So, it isn't so much a shadow being cast off of that thing as it is the go-kart, the golf cart, shining lights immediately to the right of it. So, I'm almost tempted to leave out the golf cart and give this thing my own shadow. I think that that'll look a lot better, at least with this style. Hopefully that'll suffice. See, the thing is, this thing is already in the darkness. You know, it's pitch black, so it doesn't really have much of a natural shadow, so I'll have to maybe artificially darken the floor here a little bit to make that come across naturally. I'll just call this weird pillar shadow. Shove this right beneath the pillar. Oh, and of course that needs to be transparent, which means it needs to be slightly darker, because we don't want to cover up those holes in the floor. Okay, I think that looks okay. Just one issue. This is sloppy, but it should look alright. Yeah. Now my OCD's kicking in. Just gotta connect to the corner, because that's what shadows do. They don't just come out of nowhere. Alright, that looks okay. It makes it stand out a little bit less as being out of place. A little bit more shadows up. Like, I want to add some of that fog here. I don't want to completely cut it off with that wall. With that pillar, I mean. So, sea light shaft. We'll select. Not there. We'll select this area. That's too small selection. And then a little bit of that fog over this. Of course, that's going to look slightly choppy here, so we need to then take a big old eraser and smoothen it. Just grab that selection again, so we don't accidentally erase some of the fog that's already looking where it needs to, how it needs to look. Okay, so now we've just got a little bit more texture back here. Keeps it looking real, because this is, you know, lighting. Okay, now that that's all out of the way, we can do the part that's both the most fun and potentially the most tedious. We've still got this old school layer I made way back at the beginning of this project to select these blocks. I think that that'll help us select these t-shirts also. Yeah, see, this is doing exactly what I wanted to do in a situation like this. Which is to say, it's selecting one color and leaving the other out. I'm just going to do some simple dual coloring on them. Maybe add a third color to the kid to make him pop some more. See, the way I see it, we need to not be selecting the dark parts of their clothes where it isn't clearly lit. I just want to select the white for now. So we're just going to do the fronts of them, basically. Messed up here. And these guys will hopefully look very good by the time this is done. The magic wand tool has a way of surprising you with what it's good at. And I think that this will be one of those situations. It's very, very minor details that we're lighting up here, and sometimes those small details can look fantastic with the magic wand. Hence, I've lost the tab, but hence that 2001: A Space Odyssey thumbnail ended up looking so good. The magic wand tool selected the small details just right. Okay, and what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to keep these guys two colors. So I'm just going to use a much darker gray to select, or to paint the rest of them. But this is all going to be pretty freaking bright. And they'll just be two colors since they're not the main character. Layer, new, people, bright. Much brighter than that. And now we've got that stuff selected, so it'll be easy to see what needs to not be selected. And I'll darken all of this, of course, to match. Actually, nah, it's not making my life any easier. Yeah, I'm having some difficulty selecting the rest of these guys, but that's okay. They are very simple shapes, as I illustrated in the beginning when I was talking about the polygonal lasso. And there's so many of them, I'm not going to stress over the small details. No shoes for these guys. I've decided on a title for this video. It's going to be a long, boring video where I explain how I make thumbnails, because that's exactly what this is. Might add some more fog over these people too. Well, there's no might about it, I have to. Otherwise they will look very out of place, especially these ones in the background that I'm selecting now. And moving forward, these guys should be much easier to select with the magic wand tool because they are not being obscured by the fog. And as you can see, I'm using very rough shapes on these guys. I think it won't be an issue. We'll have an answer to that in a moment. What matters is that I roughly give the impression that they're all pressed up against the glass. Which I think with these foreground actors, it'll be very easy to do that. Their hair and their pants are still presenting an issue up front. Yeah, see, they just do not want that. So we'll just go ahead and grab all these as quickly as we can and then get back to the tedious stuff. Call it a little break for myself. Okay, that's fine. Oh wait, what am I doing? Magic wand tool time is done. I might decide to make their hair and some of their outfits darker colors, but I would really like to only have these guys be 2 colors so that we can focus on the boy having 3 or more colors. Speaking of, it's about time I go and get that screenshot of the boy pressed up against the window. Although I do kind of like the action of him running. It's sort of iconic to these Leadhead Studio games. The boy running. For anyone who doesn't know, Leadhead's 2 games are Inside and Limbo. The 2 games that this video is all about. Gonna try and get this guy's ears at least a little bit because he is the closest one to the camera. I'm gonna fix that right ear in a moment once I'm finished with this selection. And boy, what a pretty art style this is. This is almost exactly what I want for, not Silver Smoke, but another game idea I've got. Although, let's be real, if I could afford to have something like this in Silver Smoke, I would do it in a heartbeat. Okay, let's fix his ear and then we're all good here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is make a new layer, People Dark. Now I don't want it to be too bright a contrast between this almost perfect white and the other color. Oh, whoops. Left these pants unselected. Oh, and another pair of pants I see up ahead. Okay, all pants are accounted for. So now, People Dark. Too bright. Way too bright. Which, you know what that means? It means that the highlights are also too bright. Well, maybe. Now that I'm showing more of them, I'm kind of starting to disagree with that. I'm thinking everything involving these people is too bright though, so... Going to pull out the People Bright layer. Got some weird blue there, I'm not sure what that's about, but let's... Yeah, now it's going, okay. Let's grab all this white. All these little white chunks I selected earlier. Although, that being said, these ones are not really necessary. I'm gonna replace these. All the other ones I think should stay. I think that these chunks of white were more just an anti-aliasing thing than anything else. Come on, give me that. Oh well. Alright, I'll fix that later. Because these highlights are way too bright. Even still too bright. Whoops, accidentally drew in these ones too, I believe, yeah. Just apply this to his whole arm, actually. And fix this guy's little brain issue he's having. And now we're starting to get somewhere. These guys are still pretty freaking bright though, not sure what that's about. But that's okay because we're going to be putting a fog over them and we actually want it to be a little bit bright there. And lastly, we're going to merge these layers and give it that blur effect. And now we've got those guys looking pretty good, which reminds me, we also need the blur effect on the shadows here, because real shadows are blurry. And where's that main pillar? Weird pillar shadow. Okay, now I'm very happy with this, and it's just a matter of throwing in that kid. And also, let's go ahead and pull up the full picture. Much better looking because it has more contrast, I think, in general, which maybe I can do something with that in post. I'm not sure. I want those blues to come out a little bit more than I've done here, but that's all okay. Let's, one, figure out a title for this thing, and two, get this thing working. So what we're going to do is go on Google, halfway through the album. I'm going to go on Google, inside logo. I want to get that distinct logo, and I want it to be big because people remember Limbo, but Inside is the really famous one, relatively speaking. And we want that to be big. Come on, bring that up there. Okay. Simple as it is, I freaking love that logo. Do I want it to have the shadow? No, I do not. Oh wait, whoops. Oh great, it still has a background on it. And there's no way in hell. Yeah, my selection tool was not grabbing that, nor am I. Let's just do something else. I'll just do this the quick and dirty way. We'll just use this one. Save image as Limbo logo 2. And then we can just bing, 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 bing. And then select inverse, and we'll just erase all of that other stuff, that shadow that was on it. By the way, if you're watching this now, that Max Payne video that's coming up, not the best. I mean, it's fine, it's all good content, but it's very short, much shorter than I wanted. And this Inside and Limbo video, though, this is going to be a very good video, I think. I'm in love with my script. So, Inside Limbo. Gonna add some text in the middle so it doesn't look like it literally says Inside Limbo. Before you ask why I'm using this garbage meme. Oh. That's awkward. Just a moment. I've had a technical difficulty. So, I was not expecting to run out of footage or run out of space on my hard drive, but lo and behold, that's exactly what's happened. So as we speak, that previous clip is being moved to the temp footage folder where ideas go to die. I'm just gonna scoot that aside for now. Yeah, as you saw, the scratch discs are full. What that means is you ran out of space, stupid. Anyways, it didn't even let me create a text block because of that. So, abstract versus literal. Not sure if this picked up on the recording or not, but as I said, the reason I'm using this dumbass font is for a meme. Don't worry, I'm about to change it. Probably going to change that to the actual word versus too. I'm going to use that font I've been freaking in love with lately. It's, you put it in italics and it's the Supreme font, pretty much. But, more accurately, it is the Hitman font. Gonna make this full caps. Actually, okay, since it's inside and then limbo, I'm gonna do literal versus abstract. Because inside is the literal one. And, I know most of you guys probably aren't watching this specifically for advice about YouTube thumbnails, but you want to keep this area clear, because that is where the length of the video goes. This logo of mine might be a little bit too small with the... Nah, I think that'll be okay. So now let's slap it onto our image, not theirs. Pretty good. That inside could maybe use a little bit less contrast. Makes it a little bit jarring, but I think it's pretty clear it's the inside logo. I think that'll be fine. But I will make the Limbo logo darker because I don't want it stealing the show specifically from the boy. There we go, that's much better. Brings out the literal versus abstract. Shows that it's inside and limbo. Without looking like it says inside limbo. And now we just need a good screenshot of the boy himself pressed against the window, because my stupid ass forgot to do that earlier. I think I got too overly excited with the slow motion. And we can just take this screenshot real quick. Bring down the opacity so I can see what I'm doing. Shove the kid in there. Doesn't have to be good with this part. Just need to have the kid pressed up against the glass. And since he's got that red shirt, it'll be easy as hell to do 3 colors for him. First off, we'll start with the pants. And clear that out. No. New layer. Boy. Okay. I basically want to render the boy in full detail. So, everything even down to the ankle skin is going to be drawn here. Because again, I want all the attention on him. So that it's instantly recognizable that this is that one game where you're the red boy. Gonna fill this in with that sort of gray fleshy color. Nice, not good enough. Gonna blur this out a little bit, and blend it in with the shadows a little bit so it doesn't look quite as stark with that sharp line. And I'm gonna actually soften that line a tad. When you're looking at games with this much fog, sometimes there's just some inference as to what something is actually shaped like. when you're going solely off of a screenshot. And we're gonna brighten up this boy's shirt by the time we're done with everything. Yeah, because that's just not an attractive color. Yeah, that looks much better. Cool. And now we just want the shading on the shirt itself, which is just gonna be a very simple little bit of pinkish. Take that, bring it a little bit this way. Is that too bright? Might be. I don't think so. Maybe a little bit. And you know, I can already see some snarky comment about how this is a 2-hour guide to making an image look worse. But I think it really pays from a, quote-unquote branding marketing perspective to have your own, just show that you put the work in, because what are you more likely to click, a screenshot of the game or somebody who's gone and recreated a whole screenshot of the game? As simple as it is. I think it's an important distinction. When I'm browsing, at least, I know I'm more gravitating towards effort. I mean, I say that I've been watching a lot of commentary channels lately, which are basically just a dude talking with background footage. But, in general, I'm attracted to effort. I'll just say that. No, put that on the wrong layer. Give that to the boy, not to the picture itself. Again, the most minute details kind of matter a lot when we're talking about the subject of the whole photo. We're just going to give this the slightest gradient here, actually. Yeah, that'll look okay. No. It needs to be a little bit more of a gradient than that. What it is that this primary color is way too bright. Okay. That's basically where I want it. Now we just need to get his hair right so he doesn't look so doofy. Sorry, I jostled the mic there. Okay. Now we need a shadow for the boy, but the boy stands out. That's what all of this has been about. Making the boy the first thing that you see. Other than the words limbo and inside, of course. Let's blend that shoe a little bit earlier, or a little bit better like I promised earlier. There we go. No, that looks like crap. Pardon my dog in the background if you can hear her. It's, well, it's almost 7. It's time for her to be waking up. Okay, let's get the boy's shadow from this image. He's very short, so that'll be easy. Just a little something to emphasize that lip a little bit harder. Guess the camera moved a little bit, but that's okay. Oh, in fact, that actually does not line up with where the lip is any longer, so we're going to transform selection. There we go. That's good. And actually make this a separate layer. Boy shadow. That way I can apply the blur effect to it without strengthening the blur even further on the other stuff. And I just need to put it below the boy where shadows usually go. Okay, I think we're done. And this is a rare case where I actually have the thumbnail done before the video, but as I said, I couldn't sleep. Still can't. Not tired at all now that my brain's working. Last thing we need to do is add in the frame, and you guys are going to hate me for this. I don't measure it out. At all. I just draw a box. If it looks particularly bad, I will trim some off. Then I just slap on, select inverse, pick a big color from the picture, and do that. And boom. That's how you make a Leadhead thumbnail. Thank you.